Oppressors and the Oppressed by MAILK and Cole. The Iran-Contra affair started because Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was hired by the CIA to denationalize oil. But he promised that he would nationalize oil for his people, and he was living a rich and awesome life, and his people were living in gutters and not big houses. This was one of his rooms in his palace, and this was one of the houses for a poor Iranian person. The reason that there was a rebellion was because of the oppression, and because Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was supported by the US and the UK, and the Iranian people didn't like that, so they rebelled against that, along with there was no opposing political parties because Muhammad called them political prisoners and put them in prison for having a different opinion. He forced his opinion upon his people, making it an oppression.
Darfur genocide. In Sudan, which is a large country in Africa, there was a civil war going on between northern Sudan, the Arabs, and southern Sudan, the black Africans. It was a sad state of affairs, and it got to the point where the northern Arabs, who were afraid of overpopulation, drought, and famine, began to attack the Africans. As you can see, the black Christians were vastly outnumbered by the Muslims. The Arabs had the complete support of the Sudanese government because they were Arab. In fact, the Sudanese government funded and organized a militia called the Janjaweed, which roughly translates to devil on horseback. And this is just some of the carnage that they caused.
Some mental and physical examples of oppression in both of our countries. An example of mental oppression for the Iran-Contra affair was when the United States was forcing their opinions upon Mohammad Reza Pahlavi because they wanted to have access to the oil in Iran, and they wanted to be nationalized so they could use the oil without any rebellion or revolution or any problems. They could make money off of somebody else's resources. But the Iranian people didn't like that, so that's why there was a rebellion, and Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was overthrown.
An example of mental oppression in the Darfur genocide is the fear that consumed the northern Arabs. This fear caused them to do what they did. Being held captive by their own fear, the Muslims took it upon themselves to pick up their arms and act out of terms.
Now we're going to give some examples of physical oppression. In the Iran-Contra affair, some examples of physical oppression were the 2,200 political prisoners in 1978, but when the revolution started, that number rapidly multiplied and started to grow. And because of all the political prisoners, people started to hate the US and UK more because we supported Mohammed. They didn't like Mohammed because he didn't nationalize oil, and because he had trade conflicts with Bazirs, if I'm pronouncing that right, which is a traditional class of merchants that trade stuff, and it's basically like the middle class. So because of all the conflict with the middle class and all of just political prisoners and everything, the revolution started to grow, and that is why there was some physical oppression during the Iran-Contra affair.
The physical oppression in the Darfur genocide was, of course, the killing that was going on. The Janjaweed, or devils on horseback, were attacking and killing the southern Sudanese. Why? Well, they were fearful of the conditions they faced, and when they moved into southern Sudan, they were killing and attacking the men and gang raping the women and children and burning whole villages.
Some examples of intellectual and education oppression in the Iran-Contra affair was the fact that the United States didn't educate their people, the citizens of the U.S., about what was really happening in the Iran-Contra affair. There were not many stories about what actually happened. People weren't being fully informed. They were being told bits and pieces, but never the full truth, because the United States thought that if we were told the truth, then we would rebel, and well, we wouldn't be happy about it. So we'd complain and not re-elect them. That's why they were frightened to tell us the complete truth.
A type of intellectual oppression in the Darfur genocide is the racism that the Arabs displayed to the Africans. See, Sudan was composed of mostly Islamic tribes, and those Islams felt that those Africans were imposing on their lands. Islamic law also stated that what they were doing was not wrong, so of course they followed their Bible and continued to do what we've learned today. Oppression sucks, don't do it. The